It is a glorious day. Good morning, Soul Center.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to the next day of transformational magnificence in your life. We're going to put out a smorgasbord of options for you to choose from to expand into a greater good in a way that's perfect and right for you. I just invite you to just take a look and see, like, ooh, what is on this buffet table of the divine that I'm going to imbibe in today that lifts me from one glory to another glory, or in some cases, that's going to require some healing. I'm Reverend Keith. This is Soul Center. We're part of the Agape International Spiritual Center, which means we are part of the ancient lineage that has been officially coined and around for over 450 years with the forefathers and foremothers of the New Thought movement. And of course, our beloved Reverend Michael at the Agape International Spiritual Center, of which we're an affiliate, which means those New Thought Ageless Wisdom teachings ask you to participate in the conscious bevolution, the benevolent evolution of your life, being a choosy chooser that chooses the good stuff, that chooses the best way to heal, the most magnificent way to grow, the most magnificent way to expand, and you never take no for an answer, because the universe doesn't vibrate at no. The universe vibrates at yes. That's the primordial vibration. Yes, good, yes, prosperity, yes, wellness, yes, vitality and clarity through inspiration. That's how it all works, but sometimes it takes a little reacquainting. You have to reacquaint yourself. But before we get into that, I just want to check and see, is there anybody who is here today for the very first time at Soul Center? And if you are here for the first time, and if you wouldn't mind standing up just so we can bless you and praise you, you don't have to if you don't want to, but we would like you to. And just let this be like your first official act here at Soul Center of just receiving. You'll see that some people are already extending their hands, which is just how we extend our heart and our prayers through our hands for blessing. All you're going to do is just receive being loved and blessed. That might feel weird, it might not. But all right, so you're just going to receive, we're going to bless. We're going to say this to you. Welcome to Soul Center.
Welcome to Soul Center.
We know who you truly are.
We know who you truly are.
A divine, eternal being.
Divine, eternal being.
Of light, love, beauty, and joy. We thank God for you.
We thank God for you.
We bless you.
We bless you.
Welcome to Soul Center.
Welcome to Soul Center.
You may be seated. I always mention this whenever we do our welcome to first timers, that like getting used to good, some people are a little apprehensive when they stand up. Some people are just like, bring it on. And wherever it is, it's all good. And for our love streamers, whenever you come and visit us, you'll get to enjoy that. There's an acclimation that is wanting to take place through you, reacclimating to your divine frequency. Many of us, I don't know, I have, maybe I'm the only one on the planet. You're born into the world, and all of a sudden your personality starts to develop. You start to become aware of your name, you start to become aware of your gender, you start to become aware of certain personality traits, likes and dislikes, things going on in your physicality, emotionality, mentality start to develop. And when they start to develop, they start to form an identity. And that identity that we call a personality or the ego is often bound by limitations, worries, doubts, and fears. We didn't come here to accumulate worries, doubts, and fears and beliefs that limit us and keep us small, or have us move into cynicism or pessimism or judgment or blame. We didn't come here to do that. We came here to be free of all that. Yeah. We have to do it, though. Any class you take, anything you do to learn and grow, any book you read, everything that is being in those in the wisdom that comes through is going to ask you to embody something within you to grow, to expand. And there's two elements involved in this. One is allowing yourself to allow the transmuting nectar that we call healing, the alchemy of energy, to release any limited ideas or beliefs, constrictions or restrictions. Erroneous ideas can be little buggers sometimes, because 90% of the time, you don't know what they are. So our job on the human adventure is to okay, I can figure out what those things might be, and then I'm going to choose to heal them and release them, but you're going to move outside of space and time for your healing. If you try to heal within the mechanisms of space and time, duality, as Einstein said, trying to solve the problem at the level the problem was created is insanity. It's going to be a little arduous. But if you allow yourself to move outside of space and time, and as the topic of today would be, timelessness management, moving from time management into timelessness management, where you're going to allow yourself to embrace timelessness. Might sound like an airy-fairy concept, but it is quite delicious. We've all experienced timelessness. We've experienced timelessness. Maybe you've gone to an event that was an hour long that felt like a minute, or maybe you went to an event that was a minute long and felt like an hour, for good or for bad, I don't know. But you can experience how time expands and contracts. And as we move into this new month, on this first day of the month, our theme is cultivating heavenly sensations. We are here to cultivate heavenly sensations, and then we provide, again, this buffet of choices of what you get to try to experiment with, play with. Play and pray vibrate at the same frequency. So I'm going to invite you to play. I'm going to invite you to invite some levity. Certain things in life, I've been doing this for over 25 years now. And my life is my laboratory, and I would not ask anybody to do anything I haven't been doing. And sometimes there are instances where I have just been like, this is too much for me. I can't handle this. I can't do it. I don't want to do it, and my ego is being challenged to acquiesce. And sometimes the ego just wants to hold on to that thing that it thinks is going to protect you, but it is actually creating a prison that is bringing lack and limitation. You got to move into what you've heard me say before, a benevolent state of vulnerability. Help is always there. The type of help is what I want to point you in the direction. There's a benevolent way. Benevolent vulnerability means I will be vulnerable because ultimately, if I'm holding on to any kind of hatred, any kind of judgment, for me, a lot of that was on myself. We know that the alchemizing energy of forgiveness is what's going to purify. I've done forgiveness work so many times I've lost count. What is forgiveness? It's a transmuting energy that acknowledges error and brings in truth. And there's a swap that takes place, and in that swap, there's an alchemizing energy, and all of a sudden you'll feel liberated. Sometimes, and this is where people can get frustrated, sometimes that forgiveness process I'm moving through, and it's in levels. It's like there might have been an incident with someone somewhere who betrayed me and hurt me, and I nibble away at it, and I give the first step of forgiveness, and I feel a little bit better. And then all of a sudden something happens, and you're still feeling some angst and anxiety, maybe not as much as before, and you're like, oh, darn, I thought I completed that. And it's like, nope, there's a little bit more. So we're just going to be kind. We're going to bring levity. We're going to start to understand that, when I was younger, and actually to this day, I love all movies regarding time travel. Time travel, oh my God. Back to the Future, I was like in Nirvana when that movie came out. There's been so many movies, Somewhere in Time, things like that nature. They're just wonderful, and I've always been enamored with this idea of being able to go back and visit other eras, go back and maybe perhaps shift or change something. Probably some of you are like, oh, if I went back in time, I might go back to like the 80s or the 90s, and I might as soon as Amazon stock came on board, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to grab me some of that. Things of that nature. But I'm going to say, you know what? That's okay if you want to be prosperous and get some insider information if you travel back in time. But really what I started to sit with it as like my urge to want to travel back and through space and time was because there was healing that wanted to take place, and it existed in the past. And if you can go back to the past, which you can time travel in your mind. Your mind will let you travel to anywhere you want to go throughout the entire universe, including back 10, 20, 30, 40 years, or maybe even a couple lifetimes ago, if you so allow yourself to do that. In my own personal experience, I have dealt with probably no less than 4 dozen or even more relationships in my life, where some of them were enormous betrayals, and some of them I would call are little dust bunnies. They're like the little thing where it's like, well, that person, I like them, they're nice, they're sweet, but you know, they annoy me. And it's like, you gotta grab the dust bunnies sometimes. They annoy me. Grab that dust bunny. Don't let that dust bunny accumulate and roll into a big old blob. You don't want to allow that to happen. Unchecked. You gotta be cognizant of what's going on in the world. Now, what's going on today, what's really happening today, is a lot of people are being pulled away what science would call critical thinking. Critical thinking is what I would like to really open you up to. Critical thinking means you don't take things at face value. You don't take the post on social media that said, oh my God, this February 1st is the first time it's lasting on a Sunday in 350 years. And it's like, oh my God, and then somebody reposts and says, oh my God, it's 300. No, it happens every 6 years when that's the way the calendar works. It's no mystical magnificence, and at the same time it is. So you want to make sure that you allow yourself to move into a place of critical thinking. When you move into critical thinking, you're going to understand the idea of cognitive bias. Cognitive bias means I have particular biases about something that come from my hidden beliefs stored in the subconscious. So that's where meditation comes into the equation. When I'm sitting and I'm still, so for me, I had long forgotten about the betrayals that happened to me in elementary school, middle school, high school, and even afterwards in my corporate world. You know, the time that I left my corporate world under a very stressful circumstance, and then all of a sudden, everybody that I worked with, the day that I left that job, the next day was my birthday, and because of the situation, it was like nobody reached out to say anything, and I didn't realize that kind of hurt me. I developed a thick skin, and I was like, well, that's all right. And, you know, I'm just going to power on. And it's like, but no. And as I started to do the inner work, it took me back to some of those times. And it allowed the hurt to rise up. And then I got to allow the divine to bring forward a consciousness that goes beyond. And you know what really is kind of dumbfounding? The consciousness that will show up whenever somebody has hurt you is compassion for them. You're going to find out, oh my God, the revelation, it's like, wait a minute, this seems backwards. I should be getting compassion from them, forgiveness from them. Part of that is forgiving yourself for buying into the idea, in my case, that something's wrong with me. I must have done something awful to deserve this kind of behavior from them, to be betrayed, to be hurt. Some of it comes from a disproportionate idea associated with the event in its entirety to begin with. That comes from, if I've been betrayed here and hurt here in the past, and then all of a sudden somebody does even just the tiniest thing, they're like, oh, I can't make it to lunch today, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, and I hang up the phone, I'm like, they don't want to make it to lunch because I'm no good, or they're always just leaving me out in the dry, I don't matter to them. I might come up with that, and that had nothing to do with they just all of a sudden, they had a flat tire. They couldn't make it to lunch, but I'm making it mean something completely different. You want to make sure that you can move into critical thinking and assess and address what's going on in your own subconscious so that you become empowered. You want to move into, there's what we call implicit, where that is the cognitive bias, and then there's the explicit. There's certain things that you have a fear of heights, maybe you have some claustrophobia, I know too many people who are saying they know that they have ADHD or ADD or any other acronym. Don't do that, please. Please don't own things that are not congruent with wellness. It's okay. Okay, the proper use of diagnosis is, a diagnosis says, this is what is going on in a temporal period of space and time. That's the phenomena that's going on. You can recognize a phenomena. Oh, for the last however many years, this phenomena is going on. I'm not going to attach to it. I've had experiences of fear of whatever it is, but now I'm choosing to heal that. I'm going to choose to heal that, and I'm going to move into a benevolent state of vulnerability vulnerability to allow myself to invite, evoke, and allow the divine presence. Because most of you, I don't know, some of you, maybe it's just me, maybe some of you have thought like, well, I'm going to tackle this. What am I going to do? I need a punch list. I need a to-do list. I got to get out there. I got to fix things right away. Be still and know that I am is always going to be the call from your soul to be still and move into a place where we're moving from critical thinking to divine thinking, allowing inspiration, allowing providence to infiltrate your mind and move into the depths. You know, a lot of people, we know the truths. We know that heart-mind coherence is essential. It's essential to thriving in this world. But some people, if you really check in, if you become energy sensitive, you want to let your clairsentience evolve into where you're a divine intuitive, not a temporal intuitive. Temporal intuitives read energy of the temporal world. Oh, I can tell that person's angry over there. Oh, I can really feel that somebody's got something going on in their stomach. You're reading there's a place for that. There's a place for temporal intuition. Divine intuition is going to take you higher. It's going to take you into a place of the truth shall set you free. So we're all agreeing we're only interested in divine intuition that guides us from our soul. And there, when you allow heart, soul, mind connection, then you're creating a resonance within you that can allow yourself to observe what's going on in your life. You want to make sure that you don't participate in availability bias. These are clinical terms. Availability bias is when people are posting all kinds of gossipy news on social media, or perhaps they're whispering and saying, can you believe what just happened? And as we were talking about last week, I want to take you from can you believe to can you believe? That's where we're moving. We're moving into a place where you can say, I'm going to seek and find goodness. But beware the temporal snares. The temporal snares are going to tell you there's all these groups of people, there's all these political groups, there's all these affiliations and associations that are against things. And it's like, yes, somebody asked me last week, like, what do we do? What's going on with the raids and all of this stuff? And I'm feeling called. I need to go protest. And I said, well, how are you going to do that? Are you going to do it the Mother Teresa way? Where I'm not going to go to a protest against war, but I will go to a celebration of peace. There's a huge difference between the two. One is putting energy into opposition, opponent, adversary, which is the very thing that most people don't want. So don't participate in that. Put your energy into like, I'm going to hold vigil. If you are feeling called, compelled to go to any celebration, demonstration, whatever, does the energy of it resonate with the energy that you would like? If that organized event is not resonating with the frequency of what you're seeking to achieve, you may be inadvertently participating in something that is going to bring more division. We're not here. Now, I know it seems like everybody says, oh, today, these days, we know that peace is at an all-time high around the globe. Peace of mind, maybe not so much, but peace itself is. Peace of mind is what we're all looking for. When you can hold the truth within your own beingness, when you can know that as what's his name? I can't think of his name. Conversations with God. Neil Donald Walsh, as he says in his book, Conversations with God. I can't tell you my truth until you stop telling me yours. You have to let go of your story, let go of proof. You have to move out of what is called a confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is going, oh, but look what they did. See, there's proof that there's shenanigans going on, that there's corruption going on. These shenanigans have been going on. If you are a history buff and you go back to the Roman times, if you go back to the Egyptian times, if you go back to the birthing of America, all of these situations have been going on. This dualistic power play has been going on because egos are fighting with egos. You don't want to engage at the level of your ego. You want to move into a place where it's like, dominion over myself. Oh, I'm moving into a place place where I have dominion over my own energy body. Where you, if you're going to use mind travel for your time travel, you can also use it. Some people use it to astral project. Some people use it to commune with the angels. You want to open up the frequencies within your mind. You have to go a higher states of alpha frequencies, higher states of theta frequencies, higher states of delta frequencies within your own mind, and that takes going to the divine gym. You gotta work out at the divine gym on a regular basis. Some of us, I remember when I was heading back to the gym, and I was like, okay, well, back in my 20s, I used to bench press this and run that, and I had to okay, hold on a second. Two things we want to do when we're doing this. A, it's not a competition. Don't judge yourself. When you go to the divine gym, you're going to meet yourself where you're at. You're going to bring your ego as though it's a little child, and you're going to envelop it in so much that we're not destroying the ego. There's some ideologies out there that think, you got to triumph over the ego. No, what you do is you let it merge into the oneness. You cultivate it through compassion. You cultivate it through self-love. Easier said than done sometimes, but you have to make sure in critical thinking that you're aware of these biases that might be going on. Whether it's a cognitive bias, whether it's an explicit bias, you got to catch yourself. You're the one who's going to catch yourself in the act of transgressing your own your transcendence. You're going to move from transgression to transcendence, and you're going to allow yourself to go deeper by embracing that in your life. You're going to know I came across a quote that says, "Except man, all creatures are immortal, for they are ignorant of death." Except man, all creatures, the tigers, the lions, the lizards, the dogs, the cats, well, not the ones that necessarily live in our homes, are ignorant of death. And what does that mean? It means that time, as we see it, is linear. You have the past, the present, and the future. And for those of you who are familiar with computer screens or television screens, what they have are called pixels that are flashing like this. When you see the color red on your screen, it is really going from red to dark, red to dark, red to dark, but it's flashing so fast that all you see is solid red because your eyes cannot witness that speed of that light to capture, there was a split nanosecond of black behind that red, but it's flashing in and out of time on your screen. That is also the exact same thing that's happening in our human experience with the photons. Light emissions that come from your cells are flashing in and out of space and time, and they're holding particular frequencies. So when you assign a meaning to something, when you assign a belief, when you anchor something, when you create an anchor bias means I'm taking an idea and I'm going to anchor it in space and time. If you could go back, check the Akashic records of your life, you would find the day I decided to not trust in so-and-so, and you'd go back to a day on the calendar, maybe it was, 1984, and this happened, and they betrayed me, and now I can no longer trust them, and I turned it from an incident where I can be like, this is an isolated incident. I'm not going to attach to it. I'm not going to create an energetic connection and create a belief and tuck it away in the subconscious that is now going to attach me to this day and carry it forward until the day when I say I'm going to release that. So when we do that, all of a sudden those photons are now creating a trail. You'll see a trail of light that is going to follow you all the way to the present day. It'll follow you through time because you've created time. And when you create time, you're creating attachment. So what the guy is saying in that quote is, if you think about it, so humans, we have this beautiful luxury. Once upon a time, we were much like the animals. If you go back, 10, 20,000 years ago, before when we were hunter-gatherers and we hadn't learned how to do industrialized farming and rotate crops and all that stuff, what do animals do? They go out into the wild, and they're like, I need food. And then they go and they find food. Everything's happening in real time for the animal kingdom. They don't go I'm going to plant some seeds, and then I'm going to wait for them to germinate, and then they're going to grow. So what happened to humans is is all of a sudden, when we discovered how to do agriculture, we discovered time. Oh, I'm going to plant this seed, and then it's going to have to germinate, and then slowly over time we learned how to cultivate it, and if I do it right, it's going to bloom and blossom into a fruit or a vegetable or something that I can eat. And now I know I have to wait. Animals don't wait for anything. They go out there, they need water, they're going to go around until they find the water. They need the food, they're going to go around until they find the food. They need each other, they'll go around until they find each other. They're not as tied to space and time. Now, domesticated animals, that's a different situation because they're through clairsentience picking up our energy. But wild animals, they are not associated with that. So what I want to invite you to do is we want to start to disassociate with the shackles of time and allow ourselves to connect with the joy of time. And we do that with timelessness. When we move into timelessness, we rise above space and time, and now all of a sudden we're going to have a space-time experience instead of a time-space experience, and that's a game changer. Why is that a game changer? Because now I can play with time instead of being victimized by time. So why do we need forgiveness? Because we're going to go back in time. Oh, I get to time travel. I get to go back. Sometimes it'll take you back to a past life. Where you made a decision to imprison yourself. Now, you didn't say, oh, I'm going to imprison myself today by believing in something that's going to bring lack and limitation, struggle, strife, anxiety, and fear. You didn't make that choice. Somehow along the line, you just chose, this is how I'm going to protect myself. The reason I ask you to go into benevolent vulnerability is because you're going to have to put down your sword, you're going to have to put down your shield, you're going to have to put down your blame, you're going to have to put down your excuses, you're going to have to put down your reasons, and most importantly, you're going to have to put down your beliefs in why it is the way it is. So the monks that we talked about, I think last week, that have been journeying on their way to Washington, D.C., and they've just been holding vigil in that timeless state of magnificence. We kind of wanted to bring that into our awareness, not because I'm telling you to. You're never going to do anything here in the New Thought Ageless Wisdom teachings at Agape or at Soul Center because anybody's telling you to. We're just going to say, here's a multitude of ways that you can set yourself free by participating in the liberation of your own consciousness, that critical thinking. Where, I don't know if any of you have ever noticed, have you ever met anybody in a spiritual community that they parrot, certain spiritual ideals, like God is good, prosperity is ceaseless, life is eternal. There's certain parroting, but we want to go from parroting to ferreting. If ferreting means I'm going to get in there and I'm going to find out how this all works. You're going to be like the little ferret, and you're going to get in there and you're going to make it real to you. There's nothing worse than knowing a truth and not experiencing the truth. When you know that prosperity is an equal, absolute, divine right for each and every one of us, but I'm not experiencing it, it's like, ugh! And you might go into, what am I doing wrong? No, not what I'm doing wrong. Then we move from forgiveness as transmuting into appreciation and awe, gratitude that amplifies. We're going to move into a place where you're going to give thanks for everything, but you really, as we talked about last week, you're not moving into a place of gratitude that's polite. You got to bring the feeling in there. If you take a prayer class here, in the beginning you're going to learn the steps of affirmative prayer. And it's going to seem like, oh, I'm learning something intellectually. Oh, there's gratitude, there's recognition, there's unification, there's realization, there's thanksgiving, there's release. Oh, isn't that interesting? Then I'm going to try to put words to those steps, and it's going to feel intellectual. We are always going to ask you every step of the way. You're going to let go of the intellect and you're going to let your heart, your soul, have its way. You're going to let it orate through you to create a vibrational feeling tone, because when you can speak your word at 100% conviction and feeling tone of a truth that you are seeking to experience, it's done. You have to feel it. So sometimes the prayer within the prayer or the intention within the intention is I have to step back. I'm not feeling it. I feel like I'm just saying the words. Well, two things about that are keep going. Sometimes you're going to fake it till you make it. But another thing is set the intention. I want to feel it. I want it to be real. I'm choosing to feel it in my bones, in my cells, in my tissues. I don't need to toot my own horn in any way. I absolutely don't. Some people tell me like, oh, I love the way you pray. Yes. And it's like, okay, and it's nice. And but when I first started, oh man, I went through the awkward stages of like, I hadn't owned it. It would be like Brian or Angel or Jesse, who stepped out to the bathroom, who it's like, I'm sure the first time you hit a keyboard, the first time you did a musical instrument, unless you carried over some of the gifts from your past life, it was probably like, oh, I gotta learn the scales. And then like today, Brian could do like anything. You can hand him anything. And it's like, because he's just letting it. And Angel too, yeah, you're just like letting it have its way. You have to go through the awkward time. That's it. Meditation, you're gonna go through an awkward time. You're gonna have a meditation, you're gonna, oh my God, that was so amazing. Now meditation is the frequency that we bring prayer into. Meditation is where it's like, I'm getting into the feeling tone. I'm creating the coherence. Sometimes it takes a minute, and by a minute it might take 10, 20 minutes. Oh, don't let that scare you. You're going to allow yourself, and then when you create the coherence, then you're going to let it be back of what gives oration to your prayer. And I promise you this, I could tell you wild things of absolute exquisite divinity. Let's see. So many things. I had out of the blue, somebody like came out and said, "I need you to do this trip to an ashram. You need to do it. It's a 10-day experience, and I'm going to pay for everything. I'm going to take care of your airfare. I'm going to take care of everything." And it happened after a time when I was sitting in a feeling tone. This is literally what happened. I was teaching a class, and in the class, I was sitting in meditation, and I felt something bubbling up within me, and I thought, oh God, there's something that I'm looking for rejuvenation. I don't know what it is. I don't know. There's things, you're not going to believe this. There are things beyond your current state of temporal cognition that you're not aware of. And so you're going to want to go there. If you're just like, oh, same old, I'm just going to allow, like, well, this is what I know, this is what is safe. No. Benevolent vulnerability, though, that's the key, where you can move out of your safety zone and into a place where it's like, you're not going to do it willy-nilly. But anyway, so I was sitting there, I couldn't tell what it was, but I could feel it in every fiber of my bone. And that was in the next day, this person came up and said, and they explained to me about this retreat. First, they were telling me about this Panchakarma retreat. At the time, I didn't really know very much about Ayurvedic medicine. I didn't know very much about all the ways they do those Ayurvedic Panchakarma retreats. And all she explained it, I'm like, this is the thing that I was feeling but didn't know what it was. And the next thing you know, and it took me a minute because there was a part of me that wanted to reject it. I thought, no, this is too good. Oh, no, this is too much, And she was like, I absolutely, with no strings attached, am insisting that you participate in this. And so I sat with it for a day, and I sat with it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is genuine, this is real, no strings attached. And it was one of the most heavenly experiences ever. I can tell you like 50 more stories along those lines, and I can also tell you the stories where I've stubbed my toe many times and felt like, oh my God. After 20 years, I remember 6-7 years ago, I was having an experience of a little bit of a dark night of the soul. And I was like, ugh. And I'm like, is any of this working? I don't know if any of this is working. Yeah, I've had my times of doubt where it's like, something is going on. All that means is something from the subconscious is bubbling up. And there's one thing you want to remember. The bidirectional field of your energy body, I want you to become keenly aware when a trauma is imprinting, it's making its way through your energy field, and it's going to nest itself in your cellular memory, just like on a computer hard drive where you store your files. It's going to nest itself there, and it's like a computer program, and these are usually viruses, and so the virus is nesting there, and then all of a sudden it's like, and it's creating havoc. Why is my computer going so slow? And then all of a sudden, the converse of that that is that trauma is starting to make its way out of your energy field. And when it's making its way out of your energy field, sometimes it feels very similar to the way in. And when it's coming in, you want to put up your defenses. When it's going out, you want to lay down your defenses. You want to be like, because if you put up your defenses on its way out, you're just going to put it back into its little hole. No, we're not doing that. And that's why benevolent vulnerability is where you allow grace. Grace is the ingredient in alchemy that will set you free. Willingness is the ingredient in alchemy that will set you free. You're going to go into mind travel, time travel, and you're going to allow yourself, and you're going to be liberated. You will liberate you. Now, sometimes we do it with the help of other people. Sometimes you do it, you just come here on a Wednesday or on a Sunday morning, you're in meditation. I can't tell you, every time somebody comes up to me after meditation and they go, you're not going to believe. When I was in meditation, one person shared with me that their mother came to them who was deceased and shared some wisdom that set them free. I can't tell you how many times people share, you're not going to believe what happened to me during the meditation. Oh, yes, I will. Because when you meditate, the little bubbles when you pour a carbonated drink into the glass, and you see all of a sudden there's the bubbles, and then all of a sudden they start kind of bloop, 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 and then they go poof, poof. That's what happens when you meditate. You create a place where it's like, the little bubbles, bloop, 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 and you can experience it, and it can be done so beautifully. But if you are insistent upon being right, if you are insistent upon blaming, if you're insistent upon having excuses as to why things are the way they are, the bubbles are going to go back down. No, we're going to let them out. We're going to also, finally, I want you to become aware of outrage bait. There's a lot of that going on right now where people are posting things to get you outraged. We don't believe in conspiracy theories here. The only conspiracy theory we believe in, there's a divine bevolution pulling you into your magnificence. Wholeness, wellness, goodness is the mandate, and it's going to happen on the human experience. Phenomena, on the other hand, there's the phenomena where I used to be in the advertising world for 10 years. I know how this stuff works. You are going to deliver messages to people in a way that is going to entice them to get into your way of being. So outrage bait, sometimes referred to as clickbait, is where it's like, because people get outraged over things. Can you believe what's going on over here? And then they lose sight of all their faculties. Critical thinking goes out the window, and I'm just believing whatever has been posted. Fact-checking is what you want to do, but you're doing it from a celestial purview. I'm not fact-checking to find a anchoring bias. I'm not doing it to find a confirmation bias. I'm doing it to find the truth that will set us free. So no outrage bias. None of us are going to participate in that. We're going to be in can you believe? We're going to go into insight bias. We're going to go into truth bias. We're going to allow the truth to set us free. Yes?
Yes.
All right. With that, I'm just going to invite you to join me as we move into prayer. Oh, how grateful I am to know that each and every one of us, right here, those of you streaming in, those of you who are watching on the archives, each and every one of us imbued and endowed with everything we need to thrive, everything we need to feel, see, hear, know, understand, interpret, and embrace the absolute truth, the omniamorous love of God that is everywhere. I am grateful to know each one of us, there's not one person on this planet that is left out of the divine inertia that is pulling us into wholeness, allness, goodness. And we say yes today. Yes, I am allowing. I'm allowing a fluid experience, a genuine experience, a gentle, powerful, transformational experience. We allow that gentle, powerful transformation to invigorate, enthusiate, and allow us to remember the truth of what and who we are. Formed and fashioned, each and every one of us in the image and likeness of God. Formed and fashioned of pure, eternal light. I am allowing that to rise and shine. My own holy cognizance. Each and every one of us, we are allowing ourselves to be liberated from time and move into a timelessness. Timelessness management means I make time for timelessness, and I'm grateful that each and every one of us is saying yes to a greater greater and grander experience of prosperity, wellness, clarity, optimism, joy, sacred holy relationships. We are all allowing it to be good and so. It is our questiny, it is our destiny, and we are allowing it to be benevolent and true and so and now. And we agree by saying, and so I let it be.
So I let it be.
Good.
Good.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Right now.
Right now.
Amen.
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 Amin.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Aho.
Aho.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Hotep.
Hotep.
And hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right, Soul Center.